Thank you for tuning in. If this is your first time joining us, welcome. We hope your experience is fruitful. Please feel free to visit our website to find out how you can join our growing family. While we are loading your experience, please do us a quick favor and hit that like button from whichever platform you're watching or listening on. Also, share so others may enjoy as well. And we hope you would consider hitting that subscribe or follow button so you can check out more of our amazing content. All right, let's start the show.
Hello and happy Monday, beautiful people of the interwebs. It is Camille Telicia, and I am back with another episode of Camille Over Chai. And today, I am my special guest. So you guys are going to get a chance to learn a little bit more about me today and ask any questions. You can drop them in the chat if we're watching live. I'm excited to talk with you guys today. So grab your cup of chai and join me back here for another episode of Camille Over Chai. Hello, guys. Welcome back. I'm really excited about today's episode. I'm nervous and excited. Isn't that weird? You'll learn a little bit why in a moment when I start talking about myself. But so today, like I said, it is all about me. And we're going to be talking about becoming an intentional leader. So I guess it's not entirely all about me, but I felt it was high time that I gave you guys a little more insight into who I am, because you've been watching Camille Over Chai. I've been having some really dope, fun, interesting guests, but I also have not really told you much about who Camille is. But before we get into the Connection Cafe, in which you will be connecting with me today, we're going to talk about what we're sipping. And so the chai of the day is not chai. I have started drinking mushroom coffee, and we're not going to shout out the brand. But today I am drinking a mushroom coffee. It's late in the day, but I didn't have my cup today. And they say that it's supposed to help you with all these health things. And so I'm trying to stay consistent. So I have my mushroom coffee in my Goddess Vibes mug, which I am getting ready to add to the Camille Over Chai shop as well. As you know, the This Is Not Chai mug is on sale there also. And so I'm going to be adding this. This is like a return mug that will be coming back. I think it's cute also as well. So that'll be on sale at the CamilleOverChai.com website. So we got the chai of the day, we got the mug of the day, and today's show, of course, we're talking about becoming an intentional leader. You're going to be hearing about me. I'm not reading y'all my bio. We're going to move right into the Connection Cafe as I welcome myself to the show. So I hope you're excited to start getting to know a little bit more about me. As I take a breath and take a sip. Ashe. Okay. All right, y'all. So, all of my guests, we start off with 3 questions, what we're sipping. 1, I just told you guys what I'm sipping, so we don't need to do that one. 2 is, if you had to describe yourself as a flavor of tea, what would it be and why? And surprise, surprise, my answer is vanilla chai. Yes, I added the vanilla because to me, vanilla chai has a little smoothness to it, a little extra smoothness to it that regular chai does not. And this week I was told that I have smooth energy. And so I just felt like it was only fitting that I just amplified that for myself today. So, as y'all know, part of the reason why this is called Camille Over Chai is because I love the flavored chai. Flavored chai tea, which is actually like masala chai, because chai itself is actually just tea. And so inside of masala chai, you have your cardamom, you have your cinnamon, you have your anise, you have your cloves. So you have this like smorgasbord of flavors plus the black tea. And I really think that I just have several components to myself that make me just a sweet, spicy, and a little bit smooth experience to all who engage and interact with me. Okay, and so lastly, the last icebreaker question that we ask all the guests is, what does the word leadership mean to you, and how would you describe yourself as a leader? And so for me, and yes, I did prepare, I wrote my answers for a couple of these things ahead of time. So for me, what I said is the word leadership really means intentional guidance and support. Because I think that obviously we're going to be talking about intentional leadership on the show today. But when I think about an intentional guidance or an intentional guide, I think about somebody who understands that there's a responsibility that they have towards other people, whether it's their family, their staff, their team members, whatever it may be, themselves, their clients. You are a leader and you understand that you're guiding people. And so you're doing it in a very mindful, and specific way, intentionality, right? And then also the support, because I really feel like leadership is also supportship. But being a leader is about supporting others. It's not just about like, oh, do this, do what I say, and all of that. And so for me, leadership is that intentional guidance and support. And then how I would describe myself as a leader, this is what I wrote, y'all. I said quiet, direct, solution oriented, and of course intentional. I don't always feel like I need to be the loudest person in the room, right? Like, I think that there is something to be said for being able to just lead from the back or lead from the front. So the direct is that, like, when there are things to know and things to do, like, I'm going to say them. And people don't always receive directness with the loving energy that it's meant. And that's okay. Like, I've just taken ownership of it for myself, is that I know that I'm a direct communicator when it comes to tasks and getting things done and making sure that people have a clear understanding. And so I'm not going to sugarcoat and put honey on it for that. Not as smooth, but just very direct as a leader. Solution oriented in the fact that I feel like when there's an issue, instead of focusing on the issue, let's focus on what the actual end goal is. So if there's a hiccup, if something's going wrong, and we know that ultimately we still need to put on a show. Like, let's just use Camille over Chai for an example. Say this has happened. I had a guest cancel day of the show 4 hours before the show. I could focus on the issue of, oh my God, I don't have a guest and what am I going to do? Or I can be solution oriented and tap into the rest of the list of people that I have who are going to be potential guests in the show, ask if anybody has availability, and then put together a new show, which has been done. And y'all don't even know that, right? All y'all saw was the show because we're focused on the solution. And I think as a leader, sometimes the people around you are going to be more focused on the issue instead of the solution. And so that's where being an intentional guide and support comes in, because you're like, okay, so here's how we're going to fix this. You're bringing me a problem. I'm going to bring you a solution. So that's that. And then intentional, we're going to get into intentionality and all that in a little bit. So those are the icebreakers. And now, again, I have questions for myself. So I'm just going to do sort of like a mini self-interview for you guys today, but mostly I'm just going to chitty chat with you. But like I said, if you're watching live and you have some questions that come up while I'm talking and sharing things, feel free to drop them in the comments, and I will also answer those questions for you guys too, because that's one of the beauties of having a live show, is that you can be interactive. And so I look forward to being more interactive with you guys in general on Camille Over Chai, but especially today. So if you're here, got a question, or you just want to say hi, show some love, I'm here for all of it. Drop a comment, and then that's what we'll do. All right, so into getting to know me a little bit more, right? So I started out with just like, where am I and why? Because I currently live in Atlanta. I am originally from New York. Every now and again, you'll hear the accent come out, but I am, I was born in Brooklyn. I lived in the city for like 3 or 4 years and then moved up to upstate New York. So I grew up in the capital of New York, Albany, but a suburb of Albany, which is actually called Guilderland. And so that was a very interesting experience. Yes, got a little bit of New York. I mean, we always went back there. I have a lot of family that lived in New York City at the time. Most of them have now actually relocated to Georgia, which is interesting, but that's for another conversation. But yeah, so, New York, a New Yorker is always going to claim New York, no matter how long they live anywhere else. So just FYI, if y'all ever ask me where I'm from, it's always going to be New York, just hands down. So moved to Atlanta when I was a sophomore in high school, and went from this predominantly white area in New York to a predominantly Black area in Atlanta, and that was a whole experience. Not in a negative way, just it was a little bit of a culture shock in some ways because I'm Jamaican, my family's Jamaican, went to a Black church, so it's not like I was not around Black people, but being in school with them, living and seeing so many Black people all the time was just like this really interesting and then amazing experience because you felt there was less explaining you had to do. And those of you who have ever done PWI sort of situations, and I say that PW predominantly white institutes, people usually use that in terms of colleges, but I just feel like you can kind of just you can use it across the board. People know what you mean. So PWI situations to more like HBCU situations or more homogenous, racially homogenous zones, that it's interesting, and there's some comfort and then there's some adjustment. So then I moved to LA when I was after in my 20s. Went to college in Georgia, went to the University of Georgia. Go Dogs. Football season will be interesting. Y'all probably gonna get some updates because we are currently the national champions in football, college football, the University of Georgia Bulldogs. Okay, I'm just going to say that again. So don't be surprised if I'm giving you our stats and all of that throughout the year. Excuse me, throughout the fall. But anyway, so then I moved to LA when I was in my 20s and I got to live there for a few years. I loved LA. It was amazing. LA is where I started tapping into personal development, entrepreneurship. Getting like super healthy, all of these things. But I ended up coming back to Atlanta, and this is kind of where the story of everything else comes into play. In 2015, my mom had gotten sick. She got diagnosed with stomach cancer, passed away 7 months later. And so I stayed here to raise my little brother. And some of you may have heard this story, I think, when I was on She Is She Nominal. I spoke with I spoke with Tasha about some of my story. But yes, my mom passed away and I raised my little brother, finished raising him. He graduated high school. He's now in the Navy. He's an adult doing all these lovely, wonderful things. But I definitely uprooted and changed my life to take care of my family, be of support, right? Intentional support. And so after my mom passed away, that is when I actually got my first like life coach and got support and really dove into personal development and spiritual development in a way that I had not prior to. Like I'd done a lot of like, kind of the shallow, not shallow, surface level sort of like, you are powerful, you are strong, know yourself, love everybody, that sort of thing, which was great. Like it was a really great introduction into self-empowerment in some ways, but dove really deep, started taking a look at like the shadow work and all of that inside of working with that life coach, which brought me into the Intentional Goddess, which is my business, where you see the I Goddess. I don't know if y'all see the little cash tag at the bottom that's scrolling right now that says the I Goddess. That's for the Intentional Goddess. And we'll talk about that because now I want to actually talk about how I serve people, because y'all are like, I have leadership and life design strategist as my title, but what the hell does that even mean? And so what that actually entails is I do coaching. I actually do some consulting, which is the strategist side of that. I create products. So I have in the Intentional Goddess, I've created, I'm about to go through the list for y'all. Waist beads, candles, body butter, jewelry, fragrance oils, like body fragrance oils, incense, journals, oracle cards. I have an oracle deck card, which, y'all, if I had planned this better, I would have had the things here and been holding them up to show you like Vanna White, but I don't. So I've created, I think I went through most of those things, right? Most of the things that I've created. Because I'm just like I really feel like I'm a creative person. I'm a crafty person. So I like to actually utilize and tap into that creativity by making things. And I have it in a little bit and I can feel it. I don't know if anybody who's creative and you don't get to actually do something creative for a while, you start getting that itch. Like, I want to go sew a dress. I want to make a new fragrance oil. I want to make some waist pieces. Like, oh, I need an anklet. I need to make that. So just getting that little itch again. So y'all might see some products coming out again soon. Human design is something that I also teach and provide readings and consultations for. And that is something that I super, super love talking about. I can't believe I actually haven't. Yeah, creative atrophy. Absolutely. Kwame. It's like, you're like, but I haven't done anything. What am I doing with myself? What are my hands doing? Yeah. So I just haven't been able to create anything in a little bit, but we'll be back in that soon. So human design is this modality. It's actually a synthesis of a few different modalities. So it has the chakra system, astrology, I Ching, and gene keys, all combined into this system that produces these charts, these body graph charts, in which you get to, you can have somebody like me read and interpret for you and help you, excuse me, just gain a deeper understanding of yourself. And what I love about human design is that I feel like it validates the why of who you are, and the why and the what of who you are, because it's not there to like teach you these new things about yourself, but it is there to help you have an understanding of why you are the way you are. One of the examples I like to use is in human design. My profile, which is referring to your personality, is a 1-3, which is an investigator martyr. And so what that means is that consciously I'm an investigator, right? And so whenever, like, I like to know things, not even I like to know things, I need to know things, right? So I am, what they say about investigators is that we feel our safest, and not like physical safety, like we're in danger, like our life is in danger, but just like emotionally the safest when we have information and when we know things. And so I've always been like, from a kid, I've been the type of person who's like, why this? What is that? When is this happening? Who is that? Like, always asking questions. I remember my mom used to tell me people would like to babysit me because I was well behaved, but they would be like, but she asks a lot of questions. And it's because that my conscious personality literally is I'm an investigator. So now what that allows me to do is say, I know how to ask really good questions, right? Like, I can ask really great questions, which is why I love doing an interview style show, other than today, because I like to know things about people. So I'm going to ask them questions so that they can tell me more about themselves and digging deeper. And it's why I'm always like ending up cutting my questions off. If y'all know, on the back end, I usually have like 8 to 10 questions for people during the Connection Cafe, and I don't always get to them because we're either diving deep or I'm asking a question that allows them to kind of expand and share a lot of information. And so I took something that when I was a kid may have been like this flaw, this, oh, that's not the best thing, and I've been able to turn it into a strength for myself. The other side, the 3, is my unconscious personality, right? Which means I'm now aware of it more because I have this understanding, but I have less control. Like, it's not something that I can really say, oh, I'm just going to not be this way. And so that's the martyr. And it sounds, all negative and whoop, whoop, like calling it martyr, but in reality, excuse me, what that simply means is that I am the type of person who, whenever I'm entering a situation, I am like, what is the word? I am more apt to find what isn't working in something, in any situation. Like, and it's not because I'm a negative Nancy. It's because that, one, that's just the way my brain and my personality works. But if I'm finding and highlighting the things that don't work, I get to share and we get to figure out how to make them better. It's not about bringing things down. It's about improving and optimizing, which is also what makes me good at being a consultant and a strategist and a coach, because I can pinpoint where there are gaps and where there are issues, right? The reason why it's called the martyr is because a lot of times people don't like to hear not so great news, right? And what they say, shoot the messenger. They're not upset about the message, they're upset with the messenger. And so that's where that martyr title comes from, because when you are highlighting where there are issues for other people, or in whatever scenario it is, they don't always receive it the best. And so there was a time where I thought, okay, does this make me somebody who's always trying to be a negative Nancy and always trying to judge people and all of that and be hypercritical? But it's like, no, this is a way that I get to be of service to people, right? This is how I get to be of support and how I get to guide. If I'm a leader of a team and my team is doing something and I see this is a gap, this is a potential issue, this is a weakness, if it's natural for me to notice these things and then I can highlight them and I can share in a practical way, I can share in a way that makes sense with intention, then it only just makes the team better, right? But before understanding like that's just who I am and how that can be an asset, it was something that with human design, I learned that through human design, it was something that felt not great, right? Like it didn't always feel great. Another part of the martyr thing is that we have to try things. Like we sometimes we find the issue by actually trying. So what it issues even in our own lives, we just have to try things, see what doesn't work, make a fix, and try again. And so I've been the type of person, I've worked in several different types of jobs. I mean, being an entrepreneur in general is just a whole series of trial and error and trial and error and trial and error. Even in relationships and dating, there have been cyclical experiences where you date somebody and then break up and date again because you got to try, error, try again. And so having this understanding of like, that's just naturally who I am. There's nothing wrong with me. I'm not a flake. I'm not just like somebody who doesn't care. I'm not flighty. I literally am the person who has to try things to have to try it for myself. One, because I need to know as an investigator, and two, because as a martyr, I am designed to, that is how I experience life and get to be of service to other people. And so what I love about human design is that, one, I got that validation, right? From learning, getting my chart, reading through stuff, getting readings, all of that. And now I study it. So I got that validation, and it has empowered me to be able to stand in that and use it now to be of service to other people in my business, my life, in relationships. I just have more grace for myself and for other people because of that understanding. So that's why I love human design. If you are interested in knowing your human design and you want to get a reading, you want to just learn something about yourself, or if you have already pulled up your chart and you want to ask a quick question about something in your chart, you can drop your question in the comments, or you can just book a reading with me at introtohumandesign.com. That is the website for that, where I actually do introductory readings, entrepreneur-based readings, relationship readings. So like two people's charts, how they interact, integrate, and work together, and what that means, and how you guys can understand each other better while you're also understanding yourself. Super fun. I love talking about it. I could literally, I just talked to y'all about one piece of one part of human design, and that was like 10 minutes. So that's that. That's why I love human design. That's what it is. You can definitely check that out. Check the website out. I definitely encourage you to get your own, to just go to one of the sites that does the human design body graphs. You can go to mybodygraph.com and get like a free graph, and they'll give you some like high level overview stuff just to introduce yourself to the concept. And if you decide you want to dig deeper because you're an investigator like me, hit me up. Okay. All right. So where was I? I think I was talking about how I serve. The last thing I want to talk about is the events that I do, because I am doing so I do different types. First of all, get it together. See, I'm like five steps ahead of myself. Okay, so inside of the events, I have done retreats, done networking events, done workshops, and in 2021, December 2021, I did the first ever Total Abundance Summit. It was a 2-day virtual summit. We had 20 speakers, and we talked about the 7 areas of abundance in your life. Love and relationships, money and career, personal, spiritual, emotional, physical, like health and wellness. And there's one more that I'm blanking on right now because I didn't write that in my notes. But yeah, so that was a really dope experience. It was called the Total Abundance Summit. You can probably still see some of the clips and the speakers from that first summit on totalabundancesummit.com. But I will be doing another summit this December. Not going to be 20 speakers, but it is going to be a really great time. And it's just another way that I get to be of service to other people and spotlighting folks who have messages to share, and then also allowing them to share their incredible stories and insight and advice with other people, the viewers and attendees of the summit. So, I think I just wanted to share the different flavors of how I serve, as I am the smooth vanilla chai, right? There, do you see all the different pieces of what makes up Camille Telicia / the Intentional Goddess? Yeah. So I need to take a sip of this mushroom coffee. We're going to take a quick break because I'm doing a lot of chitty chatting right now, which is a good time, but also it is an energetic pull for me in a little bit. I forgot to share that part of the human design. I might share when we come back, but I also want to get into the actual intentional leadership part of this show. So with that, we are going to take a break and go to commercial. I'm going to take a sip. You go refill your chai or just take a sip, watch these commercials, and we'll be right back with the second half of the show.
This episode is sponsored in part by Bullet and Flight Radio. Get ready to uplift your spirit with Bullet and Flight Radio, the world's leading progressive Christian radio station. Experience the vibrant fusion of gospel house music and a rich medley of inspiration from all musical genres that'll make your heart soar. Join their extraordinary lineup of today's trailblazers, visionaries, and voices that matter, all sharing their stories and wisdom. Stay plugged in around the clock as they broadcast unmissable content 24/7. Your go-to station for all things inspiring. Become a pilot today by visiting bulletandflightradio.com. Bullet and Flight Radio. Your story, our station. Step away from the chaos and noise of your daily life. Experience moments for yourself that are calm, serene, and full of peace. A necessary respite to foster growth within you, because self-care should be luxurious. Luxor Noir.
Welcome back, guys. I'm just sitting over here judging myself, critiquing myself in real time. Because one thing I'm gonna do is keep it transparent with y'all. And I'm just like, oh, it feels like I'm talking so much, but it's my show and I'm the guest. And there's that part of why I'm sharing that is because that's one of the other things in human design I was talking about. I shared the strength things that I've learned, right? But one of the other things is if you run your body graph, you'll see the different shapes on the chart. And so they're for the different centers, different energy centers. And so one of the energy centers is our throat center. And so in human design, you have either open or defined. And so an open center means that you don't have consistent access to that energy, right? And so my throat is open, which means that while I am an excellent communicator, I can speak, I can talk, I can share all of that. I don't have consistent access to communication energy. And so I don't always feel compelled or supported in talking this much, especially when it is just me talking to y'all through the internet, but I'm by myself in a space, right? And so that's why it's like I'm here and I actually am really enjoying this, but I also can feel it. And so I just feel like sharing that with you guys because I feel like I'm not here to put on airs and act like I'm somebody I'm not. Like in real life, I don't always have the energy to be in to soliloquize and all of that. So that's not a word. I just made that up. But anyway, so that's what I meant by that. And I think I had talked about that earlier. I wanted to make sure I circle back to it to actually explain, because that's something else that human design allows you to have an understanding for, right? So I give myself grace. Like I understand right now, like I can feel it. My throat is getting dry. I'm like, oh, I want to drink some more of the coffee. I'm thinking I'm overthinking what I'm saying a little bit and like what I have to say because I'm not necessarily being in response, which is part of being a generator, which is also human design. So there's just a lot happening. And I think that having that understanding and awareness is also allowing me to be more present in the space instead of like, I know what's happening in my brain right now, but I'm also just like, but you know what? We're here and I can explain it to you guys. I can talk through it with you guys so you know what's going on. And if you are somebody who also has a similar experience, like if you go and run your chart and you find that you also have an open throat center, right? And you are like, okay, so maybe that explains why when I'm in certain settings, I feel anxious before I'm getting ready to say something, or I'm overthinking what I'm about to say because I'm playing it over in my head 7 times before I actually say it because I want to make sure it comes out right. Or there are times where I feel like I have to say something, but I don't actually have anything to say because you're taking on other people's energy in the throat center. Like there's a lot that this can just help you understand about yourself so that you can show up in a more empowered space because I'm still here, right? I'm still present. I'm still doing the show, even though I'm aware of all these other things all these other elements and components that are going on right now. And that's another thing that I think human design does for us. It allows you, yeah. Yeah. And you know what? Okay, sorry, y'all. For those of you who may be listening only, comment came in from Kwame. I get that feeling every time I go live. It's definitely a work in progress. And I wouldn't be surprised, Kwame, if you're also a generator, because for us, we get to tap into our energy and our power the most when we're in response. And so even though the show, like we're responding because we have to do the show, there's nobody directly giving us a cue or a prompt when we're beginning a show that allows us to be like, oh yes, my energy is now in response to this prompt or this question or this whatever is going on. And so that's why it's just like you just kind of got to calibrate, because we still get to show up, we still are here because we're in a larger area of response because we said yes to having shows, right? But in the micro kind of situation, it's like, oh, okay, my energy hasn't yet turned on yet or it's still warming up, it's revving up the train, whatever wheels, they haven't gotten to full capacity yet. So excuse me. So that's part of what that is. If any of that again, like I said, sounds interesting to you and you are just curious about yourself, I highly encourage you to check out human design. I'm not saying it has to be this thing that you live and die by, but it definitely can give you some insight and perspective into yourself and to understanding yourself more, and ultimately loving yourself more, feeling more confident about yourself and how you show up in the world. And you can kind of design, which is where that life design in my title comes from. You can design your life, your business, your things to play more into your own strengths and how you can show up most powerfully in the world. That's why I feel like it's important, right? Is on having that understanding of yourself, which leads me right into the second part of the Connection Cafe with me, where we're going to get a little more in depth for a moment on the actual becoming an intentional leader topic, because I have, well, first, follow your notes. So intentional leadership, what is it? I want to talk about that. So what it is essentially is it's something I've created, I guess you can say that, which feels a little to say, but it's a methodology that I've kind of just come up with that's based on 5 pillars of what it means to be an intentional leader. And inside of that intentional leadership, it's being more mindful, being more connected, and being more effective as a leader in any space that you walk into. Because like I said earlier, leadership is not just being in the front of the classroom or having a team and being a manager. Like, we are leaders in our families, we are leaders in our friends groups, we're leaders in our relationships, we're leaders if you're an entrepreneur. Even if you're a solopreneur and you don't have a team yet, you are still a leader in that you are guiding and supporting your clients. So we all are leaders in some area or capacity of our lives. And so while the name intentional leader makes you think maybe like business first, think about how you can apply this to your life in general. So what are the 5 pillars of intentional leadership? Yes, now I'm teaching a class. So first we have the personal growth and accountability pillar. We have interpersonal relationships, maintaining, creating, and nurturing these. We have creating alignment in all things, which is what I was just talking about, right? With that life design piece. We have the strategic implementation, and then we have the dynamic communication. And so human design, why I talk about it also is because to me that falls under, that personal growth and accountability pillar, right? Because as you are understanding yourself more, tapping into your strengths, knowing where you may have challenges and opportunities for growth, you are growing as a person. You're being more accountable to yourself and accountable to the people that you are serving and supporting and leading, right? We have the interpersonal relationships because I think we've all been there, working with somebody, being around someone who has a title of being a leader, but has no people skills. That's what we call that. Interpersonal relationships, interpersonal relational dynamics. That's people skills. And just because they may have the knowledge of a task or the understanding of how something should be done, they don't know how to actually work with, support, guide, talk to any of those things, the people who are meant to help them get it done, help them complete the task, or to be served by them, right? And so having that, maintaining and nurturing interpersonal relationships as a leader is so important. That can include building trust, having better discernment, and actually knowing how to connect with people. So that is one of the pillars. That's why that's important. The alignment in all things. I just think that having balance, excuse me, in your life is very important, but not, I mean, that is in like the woo-woo sense, oh, the work-life balance, and people are like, what does that mean? But also in like optimizing optimizing the things that you're doing, right? Automating things. So the strategist part, the consulting that I do, a lot of that is in the tech space, right? Because I'm a little techie and a nerd at heart, and so I really like creating systems that allow tasks to get done without having that involvement. That is a form of alignment because it frees you up from doing menial things and the small detail things to focusing on the more important, bigger picture things. So that's one way that you can create more alignment. But then there's also just actually being having cooperation amongst your team, harmony amongst your team. All of that falls under the alignment piece. The strategic implementation. I love strategy. I think you need a good strategy for everything that you do, and actually implementing that strategy, making sure that it happens and gets done. That means utilizing your tools and resources, right? Like actually looking at what is available to you. And a lot of people think when they think resources, they mostly are focused on non-human resources. But when I talk about utilizing your resources, a lot of times that's also including the people around you, because everybody can be a resource in their own way, especially when they know themselves and they do human design or any form of personal development, right? Like you have a better understanding of how you can be an asset and a strength in any situation. And so how do you utilize and implement the resources that you have available to you, setting goals and all of that. And then finally, communication is key, especially if you're somebody with an open throat center like myself, who is not always going to initiate conversation because that's not in alignment for me and is not allowing me to be my most powerful self, right? Like I get to be in response. And so how can I ask better questions? How can I make sure that when I am responding, I am being the most effective, I'm being the most clear. I'm also speaking from a space of, I like to say love because I think, but that might be a little too woo-woo for the business world. So just speaking from a space of positive intention and positive vibes is also super important, especially as a leader. Like I said before, right? Like my leadership style is direct. And so I have to be very mindful of the energy that I have before I'm even saying what I'm saying, because I know just in general, being a direct communicator, oh, compassion. Yes, I love that. Being a direct communicator, a lot of people don't like to hear things in a direct manner. And so, how do I make sure that there's as much love and understanding and compassion behind my words before they have even left my mouth, so that it can be as smooth as possible? It's not always going to be smooth because people have their own shit, right? Excuse my French. People have their own stuff, and I'm not responsible for that, but I am responsible for the energy that I bring into the space. And so, how can you as a leader be the most mindful of that when you're communicating? That's also something that we talk about inside of intentional leadership. So those are the 5 pillars. And briefly before we move forward, I just like why I created this and why this came up. The why is really because Spirit uh, told me. And I don't know if y'all have caught how many times I said woo woo today, but the intentional goddess, I didn't even get into that story. It was one of the questions, but I started talking about human design and time ran out, right? But that the intentional goddess as a business was 100% like just a spirit download after a women's conference that I went to, that was also like a spiritual, financial, relational experience. And I was driving back from Beaufort, South Carolina to Atlanta, and literally got the download on what I needed to do and how I needed to start. It literally started with making bracelets that had intentions blessed into them, like as I was designing them, as after they were created, all of that. And then it became waist beads. And then from the waist beads came a manifestation group. From the manifestation group came an entrepreneur. Oh my God, what did I call it? It was an incubator, the I Goddess incubator. It was an entrepreneurship program. And then from that came the rest of the coaching and things that came about. I have different programs I've created, all that jazz. And all of it was downloads from Spirit. It was like, okay, so this is what we're going to do. This is what we're going to do. So I'm very big on staying connected with your higher power. That is a part of the intentional leadership pillars. It kind of falls under the personal growth and accountability as well, because I think it's important to just have some sort of guiding post, anchor post. And some people, God, spirit, the universe, like whatever you call your higher power, like I'm all for making sure that that is the space from which you are operating first, which is also where that communication piece falls in, right? And so inside of the intentional goddess work that I was doing, in having conversations with a lot of women who were entrepreneurs, or what did you call it? What do you call it when they're, I can't remember what the cutesy name for it, but people who are working and also having a business at the same time. They're starting their business, but they still have full-time jobs. So they're still in corporate spaces where leadership has, and still really is, has very masculine energy behind it, and not in a negative way, but just masculine energy versus feminine energy in the leadership space. It's more direct, assertive, driven, logic, rational, and they don't give space or hold space for the other feminine attributes of intuition, compassion, connection, all of those different things. And so I was like, there has to be a way that as women, because at the time I was only serving women, there has to be a way that women can feel like they are still powerful leaders inside of standing in their femininity. And so that's where it came from. But then as I started kind of like writing it all out, because it was called, oh, this is what makes a feminine leader, how you can be an I Goddess leader, all of that. I was like, this doesn't have to just apply to women. This is a people thing, period. Is like, this is how people can show up and be better leaders across the board, and better leaders, whether they are in the boardroom, they are in their family home, they are in a relationship, they are at church, they are planning the girls trip with their friends, like whatever the case is, wherever they are being a leader, and working with other people and supporting other people in any capacity. This is how we all get to be more mindful, more intentional. And I'm trying to find my notes because I wrote some really great words and now I'm forgetting what I said. Oh, here it is. Found it. This allows people as leaders to be more inspirational, more encouraging, and more inclusive. And I think that this framework for where we are as a society right now, especially not to get political or any of that, but where there is a lot of pushback right now in this whole, what do they call it, the woke brigade or whatever, the politicians who are just anti woke, which is a whole other conversation, but they are really trying to push these narratives that are disenfranchising in a lot of ways, a lot of people, marginalized groups. And I think that it's more important than ever right now that we encourage and support and build people who have a different mentality and mindset and level of accountability in leadership roles everywhere, because it is bullshit what they are up to right now and what they are trying to do. And we are missing out on so much and so many human resources, right? From people who are now being told that they don't matter, their voice is not important, their story and their history is not what it is. They're rewriting the narrative for a lot of people right now. They're trying to, because I don't think they will succeed, because we are seeing it in real time. But they are really making a concerted effort to rewrite the narrative, tell people that their experiences are not real, and are not valid. And it's time for something different. It's time for more intentional leaders to be out there, which is why inside of this framework that I've created, there's a book coming, there is a program coming, because I think that these are conversations that need to be had. These are skill sets and things that people need to be focusing on and encouraging in all spaces, everywhere, right? Like, and I'm not gonna go down the list again of where leaders reside, because leaders are everywhere and everyone is a leader in their own right in some capacity. And I think that we all just get to be more intentional as leaders, which is why I think this was placed on my heart, why I think I've been blessed with this platform of having a show to even talk about this, which, hello, Spirit, thank you for coming in and providing this little word that just came down, because that was not what I was going to talk about, y'all. But but it's necessary, it's needed, and so I am excited to be putting this into the world. And honestly, I'm just going to say, like, if you heard this right now and you're like, oh, this is needed, I need this, like, hit me up. Y'all see I'm gonna go through all my contacts in a minute, but like, I am willing to come talk, do presentations, workshops, coach one-on-one, whatever it is, because I think that this is needed, it's important. And we need more people in positions of power that have this mentality, and not one in which they are trying to keep us in dark times, and they're trying to consolidate their little axis of power for themselves and leave everybody else in the dust. Because I think that is not why we are put on this planet. We are all here to be better collectively. And so when a small group they're the only ones trying to make their lives better, we all suffer for it. So that's intentional leadership. I went on a little tangent there. Okay, y'all. Sorry about that. This isn't a political show, but it is, because your girl be listening to the political podcast all the time. All right. So, ciao. The Connection Cafe is closed, honey, because I done told y'all a lot today. I've spoken a lot. We're going to go to our final commercial break. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you for watching. We'll be right back after these commercials to wrap up the show.
Are you ready to take your streaming broadcast, website, or social media visuals up a notch? Pyro Media Productions is here with the perfect solution. From dynamics, design, and professional headshot shoots to family photo ops, they've got all you need for stunning content creation. Check out pyromediaproductions.com today and add that creative flair. Pyro Media Productions, setting brands ablaze since 2017.
Hey guys, welcome back. I'm still kind of getting myself together after that last little I don't know if it was like a rant or event I just went on for a second, but it's time for Let It Seep, which is final thoughts from me. And so I thought that the final thought for today would just be about how you can start to be a more intentional leader today. If you're not, the book isn't finished, right? So you can't read the book yet. But for me, like I said at the beginning, my journey in all of this started first with personal development. And so, whatever that means for you, if that means finding a book, which, by the way, I also have another book that I wrote called Shut the Stuff Up, which, if I was smart and on top of things, I would have had a graphic for Camille to put right here, right now. But it's called Shut the Stuff Up. It's available on Amazon. It is a personal development book and workbook because there are places in there for you to actually write and journal and all of that, whatever comes up for the questions. But that's about really shutting down like false stories and narratives in your own head, excuse me, so that you can start showing up with more power. You do a little forgiveness work, a little gratitude work, all of that's in that book. So if it's reading a book like that, which I highly recommend, or working with a coach, working with somebody, working with a therapist, but just something that doing something that allows you to really start to understand and know yourself better, right? And love yourself more. I like to say that you need to know, love, and trust yourself, right? So knowing who you are, loving who you are, trusting who you are, what you know, your skills, your assets, all of your your strengths, all of those things, trusting in that. That's where you get, oh, come on now. That's the book, y'all. There it is. So, know, love, trust yourself. Find a way to begin that process for yourself through personal development. And the rest of the things will fall into place, or you can get some support in tapping into the other four pillars by talking to me and working with me. So, with that, we're going to move into what's brewing. What do I have coming up? Like I said, working on this intentional leadership book. The next Total Abundance Summit that'll be happening in December, and working with me, the human design readings, coaching, all of that. I have spaces available. I am taking on new clients. I am happy to support anybody who really just wants to be the most empowered, loving, mindful version of themselves. I am here to support you in doing that. You guys know that you can connect with me all across the interwebs as Camille Telicia, Miss CTG, or the Intentional Goddess. If you feel compelled to offer support for the show, the Cash App information is down scrolling along the bottom. And you can find my website, CamilleTelicia.com, the igoddess.com or the intentionalgoddess.com. Like, I keep it simple so that you can find me. It's consistent everywhere, even on Threads, which everybody was using for a second and then we're not using. All of it's there. You can find me, follow me, you can DM me, reach out. I am here to support, serve, and stay connected to you guys. That's everything. Thank you for watching today. If you have not already, please like this video. Please make sure that you are subscribed to the Pyro Media Network YouTube channel because, as you know, we have a plethora of shows on Pyro Media Network for you to watch, not just little old me. And drop a comment. Even if you're watching this replay later on, make sure you drop a comment and let us know you were here, what you think about the pillars of intentional leadership, if you're interested in human design, all those things. We want to hear from you. It's more fun, and we get to serve it's the royal we today because I'm talking about myself. I can serve at a higher capacity when I have the feedback from you guys as well. And I think that's it, y'all. That's it. Instagram, social media, all of that. Stay connected. This is complete. I am complete. First solo show, Becoming an Intentional Leader with Camille Telicia and Camille Overchai. I thank you so much for watching, for the energy, for the love that y'all gave today. And with that, be blessed, be amazing, be intentional. I will see you guys on next Monday for another episode of Camille Overchai. Bye-bye.